back to Grimm Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire with 2 lamps. Let's turn the page together. Before anyone metaphorically asks, yes, this is my normal hair. I don't know why I would try to achieve this or even how I would go about doing it, but no, this is just what happens when I decide to wear my hair down. And no, I don't like it. Well, I do, but I don't, because name 2 characters who have this hair that aren't evil. I can name 2 that do have this hair, and they're both evil. Sorry about that tangent. Alright, without further ado, Sweetheart Roland. There was once on a time a woman who was a real witch and had 2 daughters, one ugly and wicked, and this one she loved because she was her own daughter, and one beautiful and good, and this one she hated because she was her stepdaughter. The stepdaughter once had a pretty apron which the other fancied so much that she became envious and told her mother that she must and would have that apron. "Be quiet, my child," said the woman, "and you shall have it. Your stepsister has long deserved a death. Tonight, when she is asleep, I will come and cut her head off. Only be careful what you are at the far side of the bed, and push her well to the front." It would have been all over for that poor girl if she had not just been standing in a corner and heard everything. All day long she dared not to go out of doors, and when bedtime had come, the witch's daughter got into bed first, so as to lie on the far side. But when she was asleep, the other pushed her gently to the front, and took for herself the place at the back, close by the wall. In the night, the old woman came creeping in. She held an axe in her right hand, and she felt with her left to see if anyone was lying on the outside. And then she grasped the axe with both hands and cut her own child's head off. When she had gone away, the girl got up and went to her sweetheart, who was called Roland, and knocked at his door. When he came out, and she said to him, "Hear me, dearest Roland, we must fly in all haste. My stepmother wanted me killed, but has struck her own child. When daylight comes, and she sees what she has done, we shall be lost." "But," said Roland, "I counsel you to first take away her magic wand, or we cannot escape if she pursues us." The maiden fetched the magic wand, and she took the dead girl's head and dropped 3 drops of blood on the ground, 1 in front of the bed, 1 in the kitchen, and 1 on the stairs. Then she hurried away with her lover. When the old witch got up next morning, she called her daughter and wanted to give her the apron, but she did not come. Then the witch cried, "Where are you?" "Here on the stairs. I am sweeping," answered the first drop of blood. The old woman went out, but saw no one on the stairs, and cried again, "Where are you?" "Here in the kitchen. I am warming myself," cried the second drop of blood. She went into the kitchen, but found no one. Then she cried again, "Where are you?" "Where are you?" Here in my bed. I am sleeping," cried the third drop of blood. She went into the room to the bed. What did she see there? Her own child, whose head she had cut off, bathed in her blood. The witch fell into a passion, sprang to the window, and as she could look forth quite far into the world, she perceived her stepdaughter hurrying away with her sweetheart Roland. "That shall not serve you," cried she. "Even if you have gone a long way off, you still shall not escape me." She put on her boots, in which she went an hour's walk, and with every step, it was not long before she overtook them. The girl, however, when she saw the old woman striding towards her, used her magic wand to change her sweetheart Roland into a lake, and herself into a duck, swimming in the middle of it. The witch placed herself on the shore, threw breadcrumbs in, and took great pains to entice the duck. But the duck did not let herself be enticed, and the old woman had to go home at night as she had come. At this, the girl and her sweetheart Roland resumed their natural shapes again, and they walked on the whole night until daybreak. Then the maiden changed herself into a beautiful flower, which stood in the middle of a briar hedge, and her sweetheart Roland into a fiddler. It was not long before the witch came striding up towards them and said to the musician, "Dear musician, may I pluck that beautiful flower for myself?" "Oh yes," he replied, "I will play to you while you do it." As she was hastily creeping into the hedge and was just going to pluck the flower, for she well knew who the flower was, he began to play, and whether she would like it or not, she was forced to dance, for it was a magical dance. The quicker he played, the more violent springs she was forced to make, and the thorns tore her clothes from her body and pricked her and wounded her till she bled, and as he did not stop, she had to dance till she lay dead on the ground. When they were saved, Roland said, "Now I will go to my father and arrange for the wedding. Then in the meantime I will stay here and wait for you," said the girl, "and that no one may recognize me, I will change myself into a red milestone." Then Roland went away, and the girl stood like a red milestone in the field and waited for her beloved. But when Roland got home, he fell into the snares of another, who prevailed on him so far that he forgot the maiden. The poor girl remained there a long time, but at length, as he did not return at all, she was sad and changed herself into a flower, and thought, "Someone will surely come this way and trample me down." It happened, however, that a shepherd kept his sheep in the field, and saw the flower, and as it was so pretty, plucked it, and took it with him, and laid it away on his chest. From that time forth, strange things happened in the shepherd's house. When he arose in the morning, all the work was already done. The room was swept, the table and benches cleaned, the fire on the hearth was lighted, and the water was fetched, and at noon, when he came home, the table was laid, and a good dinner was served. He could not conceive how this came to pass, for he never saw a human being in his house, and no one could have concealed himself in it. He was certainly pleased with this good attendance, but still at last he was so afraid that he went to a wise woman and asked for advice. The wise woman said, "There is some enchantment behind it. Listen very early some morning if anything is moving in the room, and if you see anything, let it be what it may, throw a white cloth over it, and the magic will be stopped." The shepherd did as she bade him, and next morning, just as day dawned, he saw the chest open and the flower come out. Swiftly he sprang towards it and threw a white cloth over it. Instantly the transformation came to an end, and a beautiful girl stood before him, who told him that she had been the flower, and that up to this time she had attended to his housekeeping. She told him her story, and since she pleased him, he asked her if she would marry him, but she answered no, for she wanted to remain faithful to her sweetheart Roland, although he had deserted her. However, she promised not to go away, but to go on keeping house for the shepherd. And now the time drew near when Roland's wedding was to be celebrated, and then, according to an old custom in the country, it was announced that all the girls would be present at it and sing in honor of the bridal pair. When the faithful maiden heard of this, she grew so sad that she thought her heart would break, and she would not go, but the other girls came and took her. When her turn came to sing, she stepped back until at last she was the only one left. And then she could not refuse. But when she began her song, it reached Roland's ears. He sprang up and cried, "I know the voice, that is the true bride, I will have no other." Everything he had forgotten, which had vanished from his mind, had suddenly come home again to his heart. Then the faithful maiden held her wedding with her sweetheart Roland, and grief came to an end, and joy began. Okay, I'm gonna put that capital G Grimm warning on that one, because holy... Dear Brothers Grimm, why? Why do you insist on making, like, boring titles for the really scary ones? Like, you're like, Sweetheart Roland, it's gonna be a love story. And it is, but there's also that. Okay. Okay. Very grim. Okay, first off, I mean, we keep coming across the, one's pretty, and she's the stepdaughter, so she gets hated, and one's ugly, and, like, wicked and good and wicked, you know, that, and it's the own daughter, but, like, if you had a kid, and then you had a stepchild that was, like, better TM than your child, wouldn't you be a little salty? Not that I'm saying it's right, but you can see where they're coming from, you know. Okay, I'm a little salty at Roland, not gonna lie. And I'm salty at the girl, not gonna lie. Like, she could have married that shepherd boy who, like, you know, was always consistently nice to her. Just say it. Okay, let's analyze this. Let's pick this apart, because I think that's gonna be... Roland is a great guy, right? Like, she comes to him in this clutch moment and is like, my wicked witch stepmother, like, literally wanted to have me killed, but I, like, tricked her, and so she killed her own daughter, and we're gonna die, so we need to leave. And he's like, absolutely. However, smart moment, go get her wand Go get her wand. And okay, I'm sorry. Before we keep breaking that down, she had the wand, and instead of like doing something to the witch, she turned herself into like two of the most easily hurt things: a duck and a flower. Honey, no. No. I mean, like, I get it if you don't want to. I get it if you don't want to hurt her from the very goodness of your heart. I'm not that person. If she would have been chasing me, I would have been like, okay, you're a snail or something now, and stepped on her, she would have been dead. You know, well, I can't actually say I would have reacted with fight, flight, or freeze. So, her reaction's valid. It's just like, you thought to use the wand, but not... Okay. But even, like, she could have turned herself into a cat. Cats are mean. I love cats, don't get me wrong, but they will hurt you. They are made of stabs. Okay, back to Roland. And then he chilled as that lake, and then he was the fiddler, and he's like, let me make you do this magic dance, and then you die. Dope. And then he's like, let me go talk to my dad for the marriage, and that's when he went wrong. Roland. Everyone knows you're quite the catch. Like, he is like man of the year, guys. He is good catch. Like, 12 out of 10 would marry as well. Not actually, I don't know. But, like, you know, so it makes sense. Then immediately some chick would be like, oh, he came back without the girl. Yes. Let's go woo him to the point he forgets about her. And it never straight up says magic, but, like, let's be real. If you stop talking to one of your friends and then someone starts being your friend over that, like, you'll forget about that friendship. It's just human science. We're not good at multitasking relationships. However, this really affects the girl, because she waited for him. She stood as a milestone in a wheat field for forever. And then she's like, she gets so sad that she's like, turn me into a flower, somebody trample me, I'm like, that's pretty dark. And sure, it makes sense, like, every relationship ever, when that relationship's in a rough patch, if you really care about them, you're like, this is it, this is how I go, but still, it's really dark and sad. And then she, like, goes with this shepherd who's, like, really dope and nice to her consistently. And, like, the second he realizes his person, he's like, oh my gosh, will you marry me? She's like, no, because I still want to be faithful to him. Even though he deserted me, which is valid. I don't know. I guess I just feel bad for the poor shepherd guy. Because Roland's a great guy, absolutely. And the second he realized what the heck was happening, he was like, hey, come back, she's mine. Go, I don't know who this person is. I guess I kind of feel bad for her too. Because it didn't necessarily say she had malicious intent. She was just like, Roland's a great guy. I want a great guy in my life. And that's fair. Maybe I just need to write a little story where she meets the shepherd guy and they live happily ever after, because they both deserve that. Huh. I'm not mad that she went back to Roland at all. Am I mad? And I'm not mad, I guess, in the end that she moved on. So sometimes taking that hiatus and having someone like really hurt you, they make you really sad, works out in the end. I guess. I don't know. But it seems to look that way from this, don't it? I guess. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess I'm not mad at Roland anymore. And so we've wrapped that up. That sometimes things work out, even if there's a really hard period right there in the middle. However, let's look at that. The, always a bridesmaid, shepherd and that one chick. I guess sometimes we all feel like that in life, where things just work out and then in the end they don't, and there's a fairy tale for somebody else, but we're sitting here looking like, well, where's my fairy tale? You know? Like the shepherd's like, well, where's my fairy tale? Where's my girl? They had certainly fairy tale circumstances with her, cleaning his house for who knows how long. But that's okay. Just because somebody else is living their fairy tale doesn't mean yours won't come. So no need to, be jealous and try and tear their fairy tale apart just because you're a side character in their fairy tale for the moment. Which can be absolutely, completely, really hard. Because you're like, darn it, she cleaned my house for forever and you left her. She should have been with me. And the girl could have been like, well, darn it, she wasn't even with him, and then he left me for her. But where does that bitterness get them? It turns them into the witch of the beginning of the story instead of them moving on to find their own fairy tale. It's valid that you'd be bitter, because that's a hard situation to be the side character in somebody else's fairy tale. Really hard. And that doesn't mean yours isn't coming. I'm saying this is as much to me as I am to you. Yeah. Reading this, I was like, oh, girl, no you don't. Don't go back to him. But then I was like, yeah. So, yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster for everybody. Mainly me. And with that, we've reached today's Happily Ever After. Thank you for joining us. Or not so Happily Ever After. That's up for you to decide, and what you decide is valid. Either way, this is the end for this Grimm with a capital G episode. So tune in later and we can learn more and turn a new page together.